Hey everybody, my name is Megan Flanagan from 609 Media, and today I'm going to be reviewing my 6-step framework to selling your services. So as entrepreneurs, one of the first things after we learn something that we want to serve to others, we've got to learn how to sell to others. So this is a framework I put together, and I hope you like it. So my 6-step framework, of course, I had to come up with an anagram. So the first step is frame the call. The second step is ask them about themselves. The third is share something about yourself. The fourth is the connection. Next step is engage. And this is where you'll pitch your services. And then finally, you're going to restate and close the call. And I'm just going on the assumption that this is discovery calls that you would make selling your services. So a little bit about me. Who am I? My name, as I said, is Megan Flanagan. I have been in retail for over 30 years selling, buying, and planning. What does that look like? I have worked all over the world teaching others how to sell. My last job was at QVC, and it's now over a $10 billion TV internet streaming retailer. I spent a little over 11 years there, so I learned a ton about the art and science of selling. And they have been doing it for, I want to say, close to 30 years now, and they're the most successful TV retailer in the shopping channel in the world. I am also the founder of 609 Digital Marketing Company, and I coach female entrepreneurs on sales, mindset, and business. One of the things that brought me to teach others how to sell, I had always resisted the thought of being a salesperson, being labeled that, because I think we all have our own connotations of what it means to be a salesperson. Most people conjure up the used car salesman, and we don't have good thoughts about that. Or you have thoughts about going into a retail store and somebody is just clingy to you, and they're just, you know that they're selling to you because they have to hit a quota or they have to make a sale for, their goals. But it's not, there's something that's not genuine, and you can feel it. It's a gut feeling you get when people are not genuine. So one of the things that I had the pleasure of doing was working for some really great retailers all over the world. I started out working for the Gap, and the Gap is one of the top retailers in the world. And the reason I mention that is they really nailed down the art of selling and adding on sales. So if you've ever shopped at the Gap, they used to be very sales driven. And when they sold a pair of jeans, they were known for their denim. When people would go in there for denim, we would always upsell them. So it was very much, they took the approach of, like McDonald's, there's a joke, would you like fries with that shake? But McDonald's ingrained that sales tactic in their people worldwide. So at the Gap, we would always sell t-shirts with jeans, and at the end of the day, adding on sales like that was a great it was a great tool to use as a seller. Anyway, I bring that up that I worked for the Gap because it's very interesting. It was a very heavy sales driven company in the United States, but I got the opportunity to go over to the UK and work for them. And I'll share this opportunity with you because I think it was very eye-opening for me, and it was very eye-opening 20 years later when I started doing social media. So over in the UK, if you don't know, when you go into a shop, the British do not expect a salesperson to greet them. They do not expect a salesperson to speak to them. Their culture is one that when you walk into a store, you look around, and if you need help, you go to the cashier or you go to somebody on the floor and you ask for help. You don't do the American thing, as they call it, where you're bombarded by people saying, "Oh, can I help you? Oh, hi, how are you today?" So it was very interesting when I went to go work for the Gap in the UK. We were opening up Gap and Gap Kids stores in London, and it was my job as one of the managers of the store to train people in the UK how to sell like a United States, like an American. And of course, this was like they were not having it. They were like, we do not do this here in our country. You Americans are crazy. Yes, they wanted to work at the Gap and get paid, but they did not want to sell like Americans. So as a manager, it really kind of brought me to think, I am, as it said, queen of problem solving. I had a problem that I needed to solve. I needed to do what my boss told me, which was sell product and train people how to sell product. And then I needed to listen to my staff and them say, no, this is not how our culture works. This is not how we do things here. So, we ended up, long story short, meeting in the middle, and we made it work. We were one of the highest Gap Kids stores on Oxford Circus. In fact, the store is still there, and it's one of the top stores in London to this day. So, and I share all that with you because I think as we go through social media and we're selling our services, whether you're a coach, whether you're a marketer, whether you're a website designer, you've got to know who you are and you've got to know who you're talking to. So, and then I'll go forward with the presentation so you can find out more. So one of the things when you're doing, I'm just going to dive right in, when you set up a discovery call with your future client, one of the things I recommend to people is you need to frame your call. And what I mean by that is an hour before you get on the call with whomever you're talking to, make sure you've done your homework. And I like to do it the day before, but sometimes work is the way it is. And this is why I always block an hour out before I do a call in case I need that time to be a detective. I like to know who I'm talking to. There are some people that say, don't ask all the questions on the call. Don't worry about finding out all the information you can prior to the call. And I'm just going to share what works for me. So an hour before the call, I find out who I'm talking to, and I'll use myself as an example. If I have a discovery call with a person who's interested in social media management or digital marketing, I have like a client avatar sheet, and I have a list of questions that I will ask myself before I get on the call with them, and then I will ask them when I get on the call with them. So like one of the questions I need to know before I get on the call is, who are they? What is their business? What have I found out about their business? Have I found out how much revenue their business does? Which there are some ways you can find that out on the internet. So, how many employees do they have? What do I perceive as their pain points? And I find that out, but I don't assume that I know their pain points. But again, I share all this because you want to do some pre-work. You want to be prepared for the call. And I like to say, if you know me well, you'll always hear me say this phrase, be a detective. Like really look around, look under rocks. Don't just look at the first 3 things you find out about somebody. Don't just go to their website, their LinkedIn, and their Facebook page. Dig deeper. And that is one of the things that has always helped me when I dig deeper, and I'll give a few examples of that later on. Then about 10 minutes before the call, I make sure I have a little routine. I make sure that my space is clear, my notes are in place, and that I'm prepared for this call. When I am selling my services to somebody, I take it really seriously, and I want to be in the right frame of mind that we have a really nice conversation and we connect. So, like I said, about 10 minutes before the call, make sure I have water. I've got my notes in front of me. I've got paper and a pen where I'm going to take notes, and I'm prepared. So then when they call or I call them and we say hello, this is one of the most crucial things when I coach people on sales. Almost everybody I share this with, if they don't do it, they have a huge aha moment the first time they do it. But I like to say, as soon as you get done saying hello, not hi, how are you? Don't go into that. But as soon as you say hello or they say hello, this is when you're in the driver's seat of the call. And this is when you really have to be in charge of the call. And this is a game changer for a lot of people just starting out and selling their services. And what I like to do is I like to do what the title says, frame my call. So what I'll say to them is I'll say, hi, this is Megan from if I call them, hi, this is Megan from 609 Media. Thank you so much. And they'll say hello. And I'll say, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me, regarding your needs for social media. I have approximately 30 minutes to chat with you today. Does this time still work for you? And it's a little wordy at first. Some people are like, that's a lot to say in one breath, but practice saying it, because once you get that down and you say that, you have now jumped in the driver's seat of the call. And there are so many reasons why this is one of the best steps. And it's a turning point for people when they are having problems selling their services, because it gives you confidence, it gives you power, it makes the client, the person you're speaking to on the other end of the phone, they perceive you as being in charge and powerful. And what you don't know is, psychologically speaking, that's who they want to give their money to. Somebody who's in charge, somebody who's confident, somebody who knows what they're doing, someone who's in the driver's seat. So this is all, I can go layers and layers down on all these things that I'll talk about, but trust me when I tell you, this is a game changer, this one. So the next step is ask them about themselves. So even though we've done our detective work, this is where I like to get the client to talk. So I like them to tell me a bit about themselves, their businesses, and then share what they are looking to have me help them with. I'm going to apologize because I have a COVID puppy and she may just bark here. So real life. So I put an example here, and, I will say this to people in so many words, but I'd love to start the call out with you telling me a bit about yourself, your business, and then why you're interested in social media for your business. And then I'd also like to ask you what your biggest problem has been in the past. Now, if they've never done social media before, you can leave that out. But the main thing is ask them about themselves, their business, and why they're interested. And I like doing it in that order. I would love to know something about themselves. That's going to be very important too, coming up in the next steps. And I always like to tell people, another mistake when I coach people with sales that a lot of people have a shift in is they find themselves doing all the talking on the call, which is, it should be the reverse. You have to have the client talking 90% of the time, especially during this section of the call. So we want to be cognizant of that, if you're a talker and you like to talk about yourselves and what great things you can do for them, this is not the time. Like, shut your mouth, close your lips, tell them in this order. Again, you'd like to know about them first, put the client first, future client, then ask them about their business, then ask them why they're interested in talking to you. So, and there's a reason for the order of those questions as well. After they've done that, you, simultaneously, while they are talking, you are taking inventory of everything they are saying to you. You hopefully are making notes. You should be making notes. But this is why I think it's so important to do your detective work first, because you're going to be listening and thinking and coming up with this part of the equation as they are talking to you. So this is the part where you want to share something about yourself with the client. And I like to either pull out, something like a little bit business-wise, maybe if there's something that I can connect with them on like a personal business level. But I like to pull out a relevant experience to like illustrate how I can solve their problem without telling them too much. But it really just says, This part just says, like, I heard what you just said, and wow, here's something we might have in common. So for instance, when I had asked somebody the question about, tell me about yourself, your business, and what I can do for you. When I had done my deep dive, I had seen they were on vacation 2 weeks prior to our call in Hawaii. And what they didn't know about me is that I lived in Hawaii for over 5 years. So when we came to this place, I casually gave them a business experience that I had, and I kind of name dropped that this business, when I worked for Converse shoes, happened to be in Hawaii. So of course, they immediately said, oh, I was just there 2 weeks ago for vacation. I knew this, but it was kind of like that. I did my homework. I knew what and how to connect with them. So all through the conversation here, you're going to want to plant those seeds and connect. But I gave them a relevant business example, and then I could just kind of name drop that. Oh, by the way, yeah, that was for when I worked at Converse in Hawaii. So that was kind of like a connection they had with me. And of course, Hawaii is one of the happiest places on earth. So, people love that. So like simultaneously, the call's happening all at once. So it's hard not to say the slide before is where you want to connect with them. But this next step is the connection. And like when I gave the example of the Hawaii thing that I just spoke about, this is where I think it's so crucial. It's the opportunity to create a thread that ties you together for a moment or forever. Now, without giving away how old I am, but I'll tell you if anybody asks. So I've been doing this for a long time. And when I was able to pivot into social media, and even up until, a few months ago, it's embarrassing, but I have never done lead generation in the sense of putting out lead magnets, capturing emails, nurturing my community, nurturing my network, because my network has been built in person over the past 25 years. And almost everybody I have met, I have stayed connected with over the years. And that's why I think it's so important that, when you meet people and you're potentially doing business with them, even if it's only for a 3-month project, when you connect with them, they will never forget you. And when they need you, they'll reach out to you. And when a friend needs your services, they will tell that friend to call you. So this is why I think this connection piece is so critical. And also, like I said, it's also the opportunity you're looking for to share something with them that makes them, at this point, like, know, and trust you. And you're not pitching like a service here at this time. You're really just looking for, like it says, the connection. So, and it's so funny as I go through these slides, because when you're actually doing the 30-minute conversation, it goes by so quickly. But when I sat and I broke it down, and I looked at, I'll just take a break and share another story. This came from, I sat down, and in a 2-week period, I took 200 calls, sales calls, for a female entrepreneur selling her services. And a friend of mine happened to be sitting with me one day, and she watched me she watched and listened to me sell. And she said, like, what did you just do? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she said, you just broke that down into like this system. And I thought, I did. So that's when I started to dissect what I was doing to sell to people. So, and hence this is how this framework came to be. So now we're at the part where we are going to engage and pitch the person. So, we'll have that back and forth. Again, the client is talking more than you are, but then you're going to come around to, okay, Chrissy, Nellie, this is why we're on our call. I'm so happy you called me today to talk about doing your social media. So I'm going to state while I'm on the call with them again, restate that just to anchor that in. This is why we're talking today. It's great that we, both loved Kauaina burgers at the North Shore, but hey, listen, let's get back on track. This is why we're talking today. And, I always state that they reached out to me because they wanted my expertise. So I craft a sentence around that and make sure that I, repeat that to them, because then in their mind, they're going, yes, that's right. I called you because you're the expert. So-and-so told me you're the expert. And then this is when I say time to connect the dots for the client, why you are their only choice. So they've told you their social media problem, or their problem, and they need, again, I'll use my example, they need me to do a social media strategy for them and put it together. So this is when, your brain's just firing and you just think really quick on your feet, and you're going to tell them like why you are the only choice. Like, so I might say to somebody, I think I'd be a good fit for your organization because I've got a very strong strategic background. I've done A, B, and C for my past clients, and I think this is exactly what you need. So the next part of this engage/pitch section is remind the client of the problem that they just told you about. What's their business problem they had? Restate the solution you are providing. And I put a little asterisk at the bottom because once you get good at this framework, I highly suggest this is where you tell them your basic pricing starts. And it was shocking when I did this the first time. I kind of tripped over my tongue. I had to practice. But anybody that knows me knows that, this is now part of what I do. Like, I will say to people, like, once you get this framework down, you can then, it's like a recipe, give you the recipe and you can add and take away the things that you like or you don't like. If you like a little bit more salt in your recipe, you can put that in. If you like a little bit more sugar, do that. That's why I call this a framework. But if you know me and if you've heard me speak to other people about what I do, you know that I will flat out say to people, well, social media management services start at $1,000 a platform. And I've got no problem saying that to anybody. It gives you so much confidence when you can state that. So that's why some people like to wait until they send out a proposal. I say get really bold and share people what your opening price point is, or share with them something that attaches a value so that they know. They're like, all right, we went through this, and they didn't blink when I said $1,000 a platform, and we just talked about doing 4 platforms. So they shouldn't be shocked if I send them a proposal for a $4,000 a month retainer, or probably 5 if I'm, adding some extra things in. So that's what I really like about this part of the engage and the pitch. And then the next step, ask, are you interested in changing your current situation? So when you're asking the client that, and you've gone through these other 3 points, something like, so are you excited to start in social media? Are you excited to get your business out there and, be present, be visible on the networks or the platforms, and, change your current situation? So however you have to craft that, I'll leave that up to you. But this is also when you set up the close. So when I close, I restate again everything. I summarize the call. And again, it's not, it's not in grave detail because the details will come in the proposal. But I summarize the call. I'm clear with my intention. Instruct the client what will happen next. And by that, I mean, will they get a proposal in 48 hours? Do you need to do more research? A lot of times you can get on a 30-minute discovery call with someone and you can say, and it's not a bad thing, I don't know anything about your you know, not that you would say, I don't know anything about your blah, 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 but let's say like a dry cleaner came to me and I might say, well, you know, I'd like to, if at all possible, I'd like to do a little bit more deep dive into your industry. Is it okay if we jump on a call in 48 hours? Because I may want to see, do I want to do this or not? Let me check out the industry and make sure I even want to send them a proposal. But 9 times out of 10, instructing them as to what will happen next will be, what are you going to do next? Are you going to send them a proposal? And if so, how long will, you know, the time be before you send them a proposal? Will be 24 hours? Will it be 48 hours? Are you talking on a Thursday and you take off weekend, so you tell them you will send them a proposal Monday? But be really clear about what will happen next and what they should expect. I also like to say to, let me go back for a second, and then you're going to thank them for their time and, you know, end the call. The one thing I like to say is follow up when you say you will follow up. For any reason, if you say 48 hours and you can't hit that deadline, there are so many of us, and even in my early days, I did this, you just, you know, you'd get scared and be like, oh, I didn't get it done in 48 hours, so I'm just going to forget about it and walk away. Or I'm embarrassed to tell them I need more time. It is the least embarrassing thing to call somebody or to email a client and say, this is taking a little bit longer than I anticipated. I will get it to you, you know, in 24 hours, or I will get it to you on Tuesday. I will get it to you tomorrow morning. But hit your deadlines you want to say, or you do say that you will deliver the proposal, and then follow up when you say you will. So that is my framework. And it's interesting how it all happens in 30 minutes. But when you start thinking about how you have a conversation, try the framework out, see if it fits, see how it feels. Get really good at those orders, because the order in which things flow really do work time and time again. So thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of QueenCon. I am so sorry I'm not in Colunbus, Ohio, because I've just heard the best things about this community. So thank you, Nellie and Chrissy, for the opportunity. And I look forward to meeting many of you in real life in the future. I'll have this presentation for everybody to download, and I'll throw in a little bit of bonus template that talks about the psychology of persuasion. So just a few tips, and I like to give people that knowledge and power and say use it for good. So happy selling and happy serving. Thanks everybody. Have a great time.